thinking, why the hell won't it work? And I still don't know. I mean, it was just scrolling up and down. And I rebooted it. You don't care about that. But at any rate, hi, how is everyone today?
Hi, Barry.
Great, Barry.
Very.
Good, good. My God, you're all there, but wow. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. I've changed the agenda a little bit, only because I think it's easier to talk about. One of the things we want to talk about are where are we now on the things that we've been trying to do, and where are we at this stage? So that you're aware of it, and I'm sure that everybody is. The last convention that is scheduled for our district is April 23rd to 24th. Does anybody know anything different than that? Kenny, does that sound
You're
reasonable?
talking the district conventions?
I'm
That
talking-
sounds right.
Yes, I'm talking about the district. Okay, well, the following week, we have super weekend, which is coming up. And that's going to be May 1st through May 3rd. That is the leadership development for the first VDG and the second. It's what we used to call the super weekend. Just prior,
That's our leadership school date.
what?
That's our leadership school date. We always do the first weekend in May.
That's
That's going to-
OH2s also.
That's
That's going to
right.
impact us because our second vice district governor and, I mean, people always come. It's going to be kind of a problem for us.
Is it because you have something else planned that weekend?
We always do it the first weekend in May, and it's already, the school's already reserved.
Okay,
And then Kenny just said that OH2 always does it then too.
okay. I got these figures from Debbie, but you're right. I recall now in other years, you've always done it the first weekend. I know
Always.
that's true.
Mhm.
So,
And
that-
OH2 as well,
and OH2 as well.
too. Mhm.
Okay. All
And there
right.
may be others, but those two are for sure.
Yes. Well, according to, well, on Debbie's schedule, it showed that everything was blank there. After finishing with the district or this, yeah, that would be the state convention. The 23rd through the 24th. Is it not?
Right. That's correct.
No, oops, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong year. No, that's the right year. It will be 21. The state convention is May 21st through the 23rd.
Okay, all right, wait a minute. The state, right, is May what?
21st through the 23rd, if we
Okay,
have it.
all right. Okay, so that's something that we need to work on here.
And you said something about the 3rd, Barry. The 3rd is a Monday.
What I said, let's see here. Well, we have the, pardon me, the RLLI update. And that is currently scheduled for June 12th through June 13th. That is not engraved in granite.
June 12th through the 13th is RLLI.
Yes, that's what we have so far. And the reason that that date has been picked was that it, number one, it gives us the clearing of our application for that and our funds coming in on it. It also gives Debbie the time to help us locate a venue. So we had that, then we had the super weekend. And this, a good part of this came from LCI, the leadership development, and the schedule that we applied for was May 1st through May 3rd. Now, those can change. We can change those if we need to.
Sounds like we do.
I was gonna say, yeah, does. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But the two that we didn't have Sue's, or I didn't have Sue's, and we didn't have the right one for the state. So the 23rd, 24th is the district.
21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
This is the state.
Are you looking at 2021 or are you looking at 2020, Barry?
No, well, no. God, this is really screwed up. When we submitted our application for the RLLI, they only gave us a number of dates that we could pick on. It could not go past the 30th of June. So okay, so I'm showing then here, June 12th, June 13th, but that's not. Well,
Have a calendar.
yeah, and you know, let's see if I've got one handy.
June 12th and June 13th are Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what? Because these are all dates that Debbie suggested. I bet you she's on a different calendars.
Were you thinking Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday.
Those are the right dates then, 12th and 13th in June.
Okay, help me out here. Let us, all right, the last district in the state. The last district is April 23rd through the 24th. Does everybody agree to that?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have a listing in front of me, so I'll just go ahead, take
Okay,
everything.
the state. The state is May 21st through the 23rd.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Sue, yours is when?
We have the first one, our district convention, first weekend in March.
No,
It'll be the
your
6th,
your training. That's what you had the problem with.
May
correct.
1st, May 1st,
May 1st.
Saturday, May 1st. Mm-hmm. And
And this-
OH2 also.
Okay, so we have OH7,
They always have it the same night we do.
2. All right. So the RLLI shows as June 12th.
That would still give us a couple of weekends to get zone chair training in,
Yeah, June 12th.
the last part of June.
Okay, hang on. Would be June 12th through the 13th for the RLLI. Then the following week, and this is where it starts to tie in with Sue's. That's the date that the LCI has given us for the leadership development, which is the old super weekend. It is the training for all of the first district governors and the second district governors. That's what that is. Let me see what I can do on that. Sue, are you pretty well locked on that date?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And O2?
It hasn't,
I'm sure.
other than being canceled last year, this year, it's been that day for the last 20 that I know of.
For the
Yeah, same here.
for 7, yeah.
We go back that far too.
Okay. So you're both on May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then let me go back and rework those entire things.
Now, one thing I would question, Barry, you getting into like RLI in June, you're looking at hotels and spaces that
Yeah.
are
We're not
operating.
yet. We're not yet, because that's at the end of my agenda. We're going to talk about what ifs. What do we do if? Because we're working on one side as a time frame, and just as an example on the RLLI, we know that it must be presented prior to June 30th. We know that. Ideally, it would be better for us, for this group to do it even after June 1st, so that gives us a little bit of running room. As of this point, LCI is not certain whether they can do that. So the dates that I gave you are not engraved in granite, but they are dates that we are currently showing as working dates. But now we will change that front group.
Well, my big concern there is you're scheduling to take over a hotel the first week of summer vacation for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those hotels are already booked.
Right, which is why we need to do this reasonably soon. But as part of that what if question, we are sort of assuming that the COVID will be taken care of. I don't know that that's going to be the case. If I had to bet, I would say we're going to be in the same position then as we are now.
Nothing until a vaccine.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting from LCI. But Kenny, you're absolutely right. I mean, we have to lock in a place to do it. Debbie thought that she could, through Strings and Friends, put us into the Drury Inn. But again, it all has to do with our juggling of the dates.
Barry, you have to be careful about the dates for the first vice district governors to go to Montreal.
No, you're right. Whenever that is, which is another reason why we could not plan anything past the 30th of June. And whatever that date would fall into.
About the 21st of June.
Right.
What's the 21st?
International Convention.
Okay.
Oh.
Right.
The official dates of the International Convention are the 25th through the 29th, which means people have to be, are going to start going
Right.
up to, 2 weeks before for some people, but
Okay.
International is June 25th.
yes.
I'm now confused, Barry.
So am I.
Why is there this time frame that you can't cross, or a time date or a date that you can't cross for the Regional Lions Leadership Institute. Why's that got to be done before the end of June?
I'll give you two answers. And
Funding, right?
What?
Funding? I mean, LCI is going to help you with the funds.
Yes, yes, that's one of them. That we have a
Right.
grant. We've already applied for our grant for that
Yeah.
particular group. We've also, I've just sent in an application for the grant of the leadership development or super weekend. We've got both of those in.
I can understand super weekend before the end of June. What year did you apply for the RLLI grant? Is that 2021 or
It's 21.
2022?
All of these are 21.
2022?
No, that's just 21. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, 21 next year.
Year 21.
Right.
So that's July 1st, 2021 through June 30th of 2022. So I could buy that for RLLI. Are you planning on trying to do one for the July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021?
Okay. Allow me to skip that for just a second.
No, that's pertinent, right?
I know it is. I understand that. But at this, I guess, again, going back to what LCI is allowing us to do. We did not sign up for the RLLI or the last one, which is the Super Weekend for 20. We did all those online,
Yeah.
but now we're looking at 21. The problem that LCI has is that they don't want the RLLI to be scheduled into the next Lion year.
So we applied for it for the next Lions year.
We did. We applied for the 21st for 21. That's what we applied for. Because we were stuck there as to when we could apply for it. We were told it could not be done after the 30th, which would be Lion year 22. So it needed to be in 21. Now that was how was it explained. However, they said that can change. And this is, I mean, it's clearly something that I need to go back and talk to them on.
Well, yeah. Are we in Lion year 20 or Lions year 21 right now?
No, we're still 20,
Okay. So
aren't we?
we're going to end on June 30th of 2020.
One, yes. That's right.
So they're saying I've got to have, for the grant that you just applied for, is that for July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022? Or was that for June,
Okay. No,
July 1st of 20?
we're doing it for calendar year. I mean, LCI is talking about both. What I'm trying to do here is calendar. Because our two dates are both for RLLI and the Super Weekend, both fall in the calendar year 2021 and will not bounce into 2022 of Lions year. Does that make sense?
Yes, I still just go on the fiscal year and not, 'cause I get confused every time somebody talks about
Yeah,
Lion's Year. Because I could see, because we've always had RLLI in the fall.
right.
Correct.
But that was for other reasons.
And that's why I was wondering, did we apply in the wrong year for the grant or not now?
No. No, at this point, we have not. Because what we're doing, and it can be canceled, but we are applying for the grant for our state for 2021 or the 2021 Lion Year.
But wait a minute,
I know, and I'm getting screwed up on it also, but it has to be done in 21.
it can be done in,
I think I'm certainly confused on it, and I'm certain you are too.
that's why I'm confused.
Yes,
If you're talking calendar year or you're talking Lion's Year.
and we're talking a combination of both, and that does seem to be a problem.
Yeah. Help me out, Kenny. Or am I really out in the left field?
We hope you have a chart that you can put up.
My question would be trying to schedule RLLI in the narrow frame of a pit,
Mhm.
the narrow window that we have between the end of conventions, the end of, international convention, in a year that so much is up in the air to be. I mean, there's already discussion that there won't be an international convention. There's, we're making contingency plans as to how to do virtual state convention, and all the governors are scared to death that they're not going to get their conventions in.
Yeah,
Trying to have RLI, in my opinion, before the end of June, I think is really pushing the boundaries. In the past, it has been in the fall, in the later fall, and there's good reasons to move it. I'm not saying there's not a good reason to move it,
right.
but I think trying to fit it in this particular year is really stretching it, my opinion. As far as the super weekend, I mean, that can be any weekend. For years it's been that first Saturday and Sunday in June, which is always been a good weekend, it seemed, or worked for most people, and most people planned on it. I don't know. I'm a little confused. I'm assuming what we applied for is the fiscal year 2021 RLI, and that's the
Yes.
issue. I know in the past there has always been kind of an issue with, from my understanding, and I wasn't involved, so don't hold me to it, that getting approval of the grants for the RLIs in the fall were always kind of, you knew they were going to happen, but nobody actually got approval because of the jumping the calendar years and the budgetary nonsense that has to go on about it. I think in the past it's always been, well, we didn't get, we didn't have approval of the funding, even though you knew they were going to approve it. It just was a matter of that it doesn't get done. Which, I think that was always one of the issues that was involved in that jump, because you're trying to get it approved in April and they're not really doing that until June 30th. But
Kenny, I don't recall that specifically as a problem with it. The problem that the GLT had in scheduling the RLLI was that they didn't do it. They flat out didn't do it until spring,
well,
late spring, early summer. And
not
that
denying
really,
that.
that really screwed us up.
Right.
Because then we came in, God forbid, into Buckeye season. Heaven forbid we have any type of a program on a Buckeye home game. We cannot do it. They would just as soon take your dog out and shoot it than they would be able to do this other. I mean, and it's as silly as that sounds, it's true.
No,
I mean, it's true. The very first thing that ever was mentioned on the RLLIs, when are the home games? So as far as I am concerned, I would, let me back up a second. The GLT last year, we voted that we would not have an RLLI this year or the next year until 22. Now, one of the reasons that we are looking at it again was because on the Council of Governors job description, it was one of the things that the GLT should do is to have the RLLI. Didn't say when, didn't say any of those, but I mean, clearly we have a lot coming up in that last month to 2 months of our lion year. And it would be so much easier if we could say, okay, we're going to do RLLI in October, just whatever.
sounds good.
It sounds good with the one exception. Will they count that date as a grant accepted date? Or do we not care about the grant? That's another alternative.
I think we care about the grant because we haven't got the funds to do it without the grant.
Well, it depends. It depends what it is, Ben, doesn't it?
Well, unless
I mean,
the
you-
attendees pay for the whole thing, because I think F&P's already said, we're not giving you any money for it.
That's right.
I was
That's
going to
right.
add that. I
They
was
are
going to add
not.
that, yeah.
But so far, the GLT with all of our training, we haven't spent a penny. Nothing. And if we are still stuck by the COVID, we're going to do the same with the RLLI. It's all going to be online. I don't see us suddenly saying, hey, folks, we're all going to gather at Ben and Jerry's or whatever the hell it is. I don't see that happening.
But if you would move it to fall, the October date, chances are everything will be back to normal, we hope.
You know, I wish you were right. I just don't know.
Huh?
I don't know. But just as
We're talking a year from now,
I know we are.
a whole year.
I know that.
Well, I know,
I remember in March, somebody saying, oh my God, we're talking next summer. It's all going to be gone. Or it'll be gone in April or June, May, whatever. One
Even
issue-
Dr. Fauci is saying June or July that they expect to have a
Yes,
vaccine for
I would-
everybody.
I would put more,
That's the latest I've heard.
well, we'll see. All I know one thing, that if you look at the governmental, state, national, so forth, suggestions about not tempting fate by wearing a mask, by doing other things. But there are 4 different areas. Age. I'm almost 80. I'll be 79 in a month. Number 2, I have diabetes. Bingo.
Mhm.
Number 3, heart. I've had 2 heart issues in the last year. And 4, overweight. What do you think the odds are of my packing up and going to stay at Deer Creek?
You're called compromised,
I would be
compromised health.
if I did that. I mean, I don't know. It's far enough in advance that I'm not terribly worried about it. I mean, it was one of the what if questions that I had on the agenda. What if we are required, or not required, but if our only option or best option is to do it online again? Do we still want to do RLLI? I don't know.
Well, let me ask this. How popular was the USA Canada Forum when they switched that all online?
I have no idea.
I mean, that
No idea.
would be a good indicator, you know,
There was
how,
about 2,000
what the
people
numbers were like. 2,000, Kenny?
somewhere in that neighborhood.
What?
Wow.
How many?
I believe there was about 2,000.
Wow, that's about the normal attendee
Right. Right.
number.
Right. So it
I'm
wasn't
surprised.
a big addition that you would have thought there would have been.
Hmm.
You know, I guess
I'm surprised there were that many, frankly.
I guess in my opinion, you know, I thought when you were doing your surveys and stuff, we were still looking at next fall as an RLLI date. I think the 30th that they're throwing out there is because of the fiscal year, and they're saying you got an application for the fiscal year. I think I think we need to go back and say, okay, we're not going to do it in the fiscal year. We want to do it in the calendar year 21. You know, do we have to reapply? Will you accept our previous submission as the, you know, as the submission, or do we need to reapply it? And then, you know, look at that. Honestly, I think with all the unknowns, trying to stick another unknown between now and the end of June is just asking for problems. And the other thing I'll throw out there too, I've talked to a number of governors. Governors are not able to get hotels for 2022 to have conventions because of all of the weddings and everything that have gotten moved.
Ugh.
Hotels are sold out
Yeah.
and booked through 2022.
Well, you know, that might be another argument for our doing it online.
Well, it might be another argument for trying to move it out a little farther and not fight the rush that's going
I
to be.
agree. The one thing though, let me add on that, Kenny, this was part of the mandate of the Council of Governors in deciding how this committee would work.
Well, the committee is tasked with the job of holding RLI. I think there's some leeway in that, in the, you know, giving the circumstances of, you know, when we did that, when that was written up, there was no such thing as COVID-19.
That's right.
Well, I think there might have been in China, but we didn't know what it was. You know, and you know, saying, well, you're going to be required to hold this, I think is over pushing the mandate, and I don't think anybody's going to hold it against you, Barry.
Good.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I'd like to see RLI done. But I think the other thing too, okay, if we do assume that by June things are better, are they going to come and want to see you at RLI, or are they going to want to take their family to Walt Disney World?
No idea.
I do. I have a perfectly good idea, and it's not you, Barry. I'm sorry. You know,
So am I invited to go to Florida? I mean, what the hell's going on here?
if it does loosen up, you know, the people are going to be running like mad for the hills, and RLI is not going to be one of their top options.
I absolutely agree. Nor will the leadership development weekend. It's the same basic thing.
Well, we're talking 14 people versus, you know, hopefully 100 people. We're talking people that are committed to the cause of going to the training that they're supposed to go to. I mean, like I say, June 1st is on everybody's calendar because everybody's been told that June 1st is where you know where you're at.
Right.
every year. And if you're going to be a governor, you're going to be there June for, the first Saturday and Sunday in June. So they kind of anticipate that. Where RLI is going to be we're looking at a totally different crowd.
Then why don't I do this? And I see Nick just came in, and Nick is, I trust he is as confused as everybody else right now. We're gonna
And that's fine. I like being confused.
we're having this out at your house. So just sort of plan on that now. It'll be okay. So I'm gonna call LCI tomorrow. Now, so that I'm not screwed up here, I'm going to name off some of the items we're looking at, and you let me know whether that is untouchable or if that's flexible. The last district convention is 4/23. I guess there is nothing we can do with that, is there? Is there? Kenny, I guess I would give you that.
COVID will decide whether that doesn't happen or not.
Wait, you screwed me up. How did you? What does COVID have to do with that?
COVID will be the only thing that cancels that convention.
Okay, all right. So, and anyhow, getting back to my question on it, is that for the last district governor or last district convention, that is non-touchable. The state of May 21st through 23rd is non-touchable. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. OHS or OH7, OH2. Are they untouchable? I mean, if we're looking at state,
Yes,
that is untouchable. Is that what you're
as
saying?
far as I'm concerned.
Well, no, and I understand it. I'm not arguing against that. Let me come back to those two. All right, to 07 and 02. The RLLI, we have now at 6/12 through the 13th. That is not
Mhm.
inflexible. The super weekend would be, what do I can't read my own writing. No, wait, no, I'm looking at the international state or international convention. And that is unchangeable. Okay. For May, okay, well, May 1st is still I don't know that we can move that. Okay, so I will take these dates and I will call international tomorrow. And I will let them know that we have our last district governor or district meeting, our state meeting, RLI dates, which can be moved. International is not movable.
Mhm.
Is that right?
You have a couple of weekends in May, Barry, before a state convention.
Well,
I'm just saying. There are 2 weekends between May 1st
well, the
and
20,
state convention.
Mother's Day is one of those.
yeah.
I know.
Well, it's sort of adding to this confusion. We've only got so many people that can do this. You know? And if we've got I'm getting a potential fraud call. Is this from any of you guys?
Yeah.
Just so that I can call and say hi,
Spam risk.
or whatever, or whatever. If we look at this committee, we have 14, 13 people, I think, on the committee. If we are doing 2 or 3 different programs, we're going to be short of manpower on a number of these. And I'm not even counting your OH7 or OH2. I'm not counting those at all. Is that something anybody wants to talk about at this point or not? Why don't you let me call International and see what we can do about the moving, or what exactly the perimeters are, the parameters for when we can have those programs. Does it have to be, as it indicates on the applications, that it has to be between these 2 dates? Does anybody have a problem with my doing that?
I think, let me add, I think you should do that, Barry. I think that you should do that.
Okay,
I think you
Yeah.
should.
Spell out the dates, month,
Yes.
day, year at the beginning and the month, day, year at the end. And don't let them say Lions year 21 or physical year 21. Ask for specific dates. Has to be between this date and this date.
okay.
And can you move the application a whole year in advance?
There were questions on that, referring to that, but I don't think that allowed it. I have it though, and I will look through it tonight even before I call.
Because I think that's what the problem that Jay always ended up with, is that he wouldn't know until just about June timeframe if he was going to get a grant to do RLI in the October timeframe.
Well, is everybody okay on my calling and then we getting
Please
back
do.
together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put that here. Now, I've got another thing, just so that you know what's going on. And I want to thank this committee for doing something terrific. When I ask you to send out the surveys, I don't know how many I expected, but certainly not the number that I got. And I got another one today. So that puts us at 31. I am incredibly surprised at that. But it tells me that, and there are a number of people on the survey, I didn't recognize them. I didn't recognize their club. I didn't recognize their name, which tells me they didn't come from any list that we're using. Steve, I think you had sent, there was at least one other in your district, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we sent it out to every club.
Yes,
I was
no,
gonna say
but I'm just saying that out of all of those that went out, and I wish I knew how many there were, but that's not something that I even thought about putting on the survey. I have no idea how many were sent out. 100? I doubt it. 50, maybe. But if we got back 30, I am just thrilled with this. But let me tell you what they said. And I don't know that this is real helpful to us. The numbers don't all work out, simply because there are a number of people who didn't answer all the questions. So as an example, we might have somebody in level 1, and they want a 1-day program. I mean, so you can't add one up to do anything else. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm hope I don't screw stuff up. This says it wants me to click on this. Okay. Everybody was still with me,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
except I missed Kenny. There, okay, there we are. I started to make some sense out of the recaps. And it gives us some information, but not as much as we're going to need. I mean, if we decide, yes, absolutely, engraved in granite, we're going to do an RLLI, there are other questions that have to be asked. On my first question was, do you have an interest in the RLLI? And I got 7 that said no, absolutely not. Didn't want it.
Huh.
On those that would sign up for level 1, we have 5. Level 2, either 2 or 1. So that would give us 3 more or a possible 8, I don't know. On a 3-day program versus 2-day versus 1 day, almost without exception, the answers came back virtual if we still had the health problem. Almost, and there are only 1 or 2 that decided they didn't care. They were looking for, on a 3-day program, 2 people. That's all that signed up for that. For a 2-day program, there were 7. A 1-day program, there were 7. So on those 2, that it sort of balances out how many topics they didn't bother with that. Going back just a second, on the 3-day program, they'd indicate none because of the COVID-13. In the question, a multi-part program dividing topics over several days or weeks. This was an interesting thing. There were about 20 that indicated that they would like to do it over 1 week. I mean, they didn't in particular want it 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but they certainly didn't want it on the, or as several. For weekend, there were 3 people. That was primarily it. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now there were 7 that had no. Do you have any questions on some of those? The answers are sort of vague. But a part of it is that I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's where. Any questions? Kenny, you told me the other day that you would have an interest in knowing what the outcome of that was.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions that you had that had been answered or not answered?
No, I mean, that I was just interested in knowing what, how
Yeah.
people felt, and that's what you were covering there. So,
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, one of the things that I felt good about that is the fact that this committee joined in and sent out the surveys to people in their districts, zone chairs, first district, second district, club presidents. And I'm really so pleased, and you should all be proud that we got that many. I was thrilled that we got that many. You may not be, but I was. So I can sit at home and go, wow, look what we did, you know. Any questions on it? Ben? Kenny, this is directly to you. In past years, the GLT has many times offered a training session at the end of the Council of Governors meeting. Do you want one of those this year? And if so, what would you like it on?
The biggest problem, and for those of you that aren't aware, the next Council of Governors meeting will be held at Pilot Dogs in what they call the shell, which is part of the new building.
That's
The
right.
only people that are invited are the governors, the vice governors, and the international family, the advisory group. Everybody else will be Zooming in.
Mhm.
We will be maintaining social distancing. We will be required to wear masks. That's all part of Jay Gray's requirements for us to use the facility. We are limiting to the number because even with that number, we would have been crowded in the state office.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
basically, a training session will be out of the question because it will be, you know, we're using somebody else's facility. It would be possible to have them go to, you know, go back to the state office or something. You could do something there with those 7 or how many show up.
On your last Council of Governors meeting, you did it all by Zoom, didn't you?
We did it all by Zoom.
This month will be different because of the facility being available from Pilot Dogs.
Well, yeah, we're doing a hybrid one. All committee reports will be done by Zoom.
Oh, okay. You still want the written report?
Well, yeah, we want the written reports before the 25th, so they're online and readable. But you know, you will be asked as a committee representative to, you know, for your report like normal, but you will be Zooming in.
Right. Well,
Not just you, but every committee chairman is not welcome at the meeting.
okay. All right. Well, that's nice to know. Maybe, who knows? Who knows? What was I going to ask you here? Oh, but the next Council of Governors, if you are again in all Zoom, do you want us to have a Zoomed session?
That's fine with me. You can, yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems with that. That's,
Why don't you and I be in touch prior to that happening, so we have a better idea where you're going to hold it and what that topic might be?
you know, I don't see us getting to be, this time around, most of our governors have not actually met in person
Right.
in many, many months. And some of them are kind of chomping at the bit. You know, a lot of them want to exchange pins and just see each other. And there was a big push to be able to sit in the same room and talk a little bit. You know, depends on how this thing goes. If it gets worse, you know, we'll be back to all Zoom. If it doesn't get worse, you know, then we may be probably still limiting access would be my guess. I don't see it. It's just, you know, hard to say how we're going to be doing it. I would highly recommend, if you want to do training, don't do it on a COG day and just schedule it. If you're going to do it Zoom, just schedule it somewhere else.
Okay.
That would be my advice.
Yeah. In that case, we probably would not schedule another training because COG that's a long day for those guys. You know, and after sitting watching their TV for however many hours, you can only push it so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it Zoom, there's no need that it has to be associated with the call
Right.
meeting.
Right. Well, I know that there are at least one person on this committee, and I think two, that have had a hybrid meeting. Anybody want to speak on that, how that's worked? Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions?
Do you want me to tell you about our hybrid club meetings and the pitfalls that we had? And
Would
it
you,
all revolved around,
would you like to do that?
no, but it all revolved around the communication aspect. The people on Zoom, unless the in-person attendees really got up and stood in front of the camera, the people on Zoom couldn't hear them. And the converse was true. The people on Zoom would say something and those in person couldn't hear it.
Yeah,
We got around that because we happen to have in our club a PA system that was or is Bluetooth compatible. So we used the PA system for the microphone and the speaker. So if the people in person would speak into the microphone, the individuals on Zoom could hear them. Then conversely, if the people on Zoom spoke, it was played through the PA system, so everybody in the room could hear it. The other
and are you using a PA system?
We will have one there for sure, because I own one. It's not Bluetooth compatible, so we'll have to use the mic or whatever. Part of my intention already has been that I will, any pertinent comments that's directed to committees or something, or pertinent comments that are directed from the governors and stuff, I will intentionally repeat, and take it slow so everybody does have an opportunity to hear. Generally, in our meetings, hearing what's coming over the Zoom has not been an issue. Now, being in this new facility, it could be anything, it could be a real
Yeah.
challenge either way. It's one of those things that, okay, we could just go completely Zoom, and that has its pitfalls also. And there's no real good way of doing it all live. So the choice is either, do Zoom, do partial Zoom, or not have a meeting. Excuse me one moment. Hello? Yeah. For you, Barry.
Hello, Dad.
Well, let me further say this. Our first meeting where we did that was in a park. It was in a shelter house. It was outdoors. The second, and that's where we got the most comments. People couldn't hear. I was hosting it, and I was trying to do what you just did, is repeat the questions that were coming across Zoom for the others in the audience. The next meeting, where we did have a PA system, it was an enclosed building where we could still social distance, and the acoustics were just a little bit better in there. So it does work.
Well, and the other thing, 6 months ago, you had a lot of issues with people on Zoom with not muting, unmuting, and
That's right.
everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's gotten a little bit better at that. So
Yeah. But we don't have that program now. All we have now is an old man that can't get on his damn computer. That's all you've got,
So, like I say, it was a choice of, we do it all Zoom, and a lot of the governors did want to have that face to face. We have second vice district governors that have had one Zoom meeting, and they have not gotten to, they've gotten together as one Zoom meeting. There has been no social interaction by those second vice district governors. That's not good. Actually, they've invited me to go out to lunch with them after the COG meeting. They have to have some sort of interaction, and not just a Zoom to some extent. Of course, there is dangers with that, I realize, but that interaction as a group needs to occur. Every one of you have been involved in that, and you know how important that is. I'm not, so the first are getting together every Wednesday night, and I think they're accomplishing some things there, and having an enjoyable time. But we the seconds haven't really known each other enough to really get together even, and so that's part of this. But it is what it is. We'll deal with it and try and learn from it, and we learned a little bit from the last Zoom meeting, and we'll try and learn more.
Maybe if you had a large screen television that you could use as a secondary monitor for the Zoom session.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because I mean, all we had was a laptop,
right.
and you have to turn the camera around so that, because you were sitting out in the audience where somebody has got to be looking over your shoulder, you're looking away from everybody so that the camera on the laptop could be used.
Right.
It's all fixable with just a little bit of
Yeah.
technology.
Well, I have a strong feeling that as we go on with this, it's going to be easier for everyone. We're going to know how to do things and so forth.
Well, Barry, back to your original question. Now, one of the things I think that has been an issue with the after COG trainings. For instance, last year, Lydia arranged for everybody to have the opportunity to tour the Lions Foundation Eye Research Center at OSU. It isn't a whole lot to see, but there's a lot of amazing things going on in that program, and what Lions have helped pay for that. In my district, I say that was worth about 20 members and about $15,000 worth of fundraising when I came back and started telling about that center. And the first and seconds didn't get to see that because they were in training. There's other times when there's been something else that, interaction and socialization that they didn't get because they were in training. And that's always been an issue. Part of the issue and part of the question is whether it's worth it to that, or are they missing out in other aspects? So, I mean, it's kind of a balancing act. I understand that the ability to train them is necessary. But if you're planning on just Zoom, I think doing it right after the COG isn't necessary.
Okay. All right. I will call LCI tomorrow. If I get answers soon, how soon do you want to meet again? Anybody got a feeling? Or I mean, I can put it in an email and send it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, email.
Okay.
I can give you a part of your answer already, Barry. LCI's website, the application deadline is passed for the 2021 fiscal year. Applications for the 21-22 fiscal year will be available May through August.
I'm screwed up again. You're saying that our application that we just turned in
Right.
is
Was
good
good through
for this year because October was the last day, the end of October.
right.
Correct?
Yeah, it has to be. It's fiscal year. They're doing it. That's why the June 30th deadline.
Okay. All right.
And like I said, and I think like Ben agreed, I know because we were always going, why haven't we heard anything on RLI? The answer that came back was because we haven't got approved for the grant, because the grants don't come out until May and can't be turned in. The other thing though that I would point out is right on LCI's website, it says that 100% of them have been funded.
Right. Yes.
So it's like, okay, yes, we're worried that we applied for a grant, we haven't got it yet, but we're pretty darn sure we're going to get it.
As
As long as
you
somebody,
participate,
somebody signs their name to it.
and it goes for both of those two things,
Right,
both of them.
right.
And it does say very clearly in there that if you apply, you're going to get a grant. And it tells us how much of a grant we're going to get. So, I
Right.
mean, it's not that much of a secret. I think it was at one point, and I'm not sure why it was. But I mean, for this, it can be pretty decent. All I will do, though, I will try to find out, do these have any walking room? I mean, can I move the dates? What are the alternatives? And then maybe I'll come back to that with you and say, we've been allowed, we can do it between August and September or whatever. In the meantime, don't plan anything in the meantime. Any other questions?
Barry, can I run something by you if you don't mind,
Sure.
before you adjourn? And it could be an agenda item at our next GLT meeting, but clearly last night, to include communications that I've had with the compliance committee members, and I'm hearing a concern on their part on numerous issues. But clearly I'm asking you, and I'm asking us to think about, are we offering, and I think I know the answer, but are we offering enough training opportunities? Understanding that I am hearing, and I'm also seeing, because I'm seeing things that they're not seeing, because I have a direct line of communication with the IRS and the AG. But they are telling me, to include one governor in particular, that he is getting no cooperation, no support from his clubs on issues relating to compliance. These
So
are non-compliant
Governor,
clubs.
it isn't the governor, it's his clubs. Did I understand that?
What I'm suggesting is he has got non-compliant clubs that aren't cooperating with him. They're
But
not communicating with him.
He is on board.
He is on board, yes. And they've all said to me, what is the answer? I don't know what the answer is, but I'm suggesting to us as a GLT committee, and I'm speaking only for one state committee. There may be others that have the same issues or concerns, if any. But I'm just talking on the compliance side, Barry, that I'm hearing questions from some of the committee members on whether or not we can do more, or if we're doing what we need to do, is it working? The answer is we have no answer. But I'm suggesting that that maybe it can be more of a discussion item at our next meeting. And each time I'm meeting with the compliance committee, I'm discussing the opportunities that we have. When I say opportunities, I'm discussing the fact that we have this information on our district websites. We have it on our multiple district websites. But is it enough? I'm hearing that it may not be. I don't know, but I'm just asking you to make it. And again, I'm only one state committee talking to you. There's others that may have the same issues. I don't know. I'm only concerned about compliance for the Lions of Ohio. Are we filling that void? I like to think that what we did a month or two ago, may have been part and parcel of that answer. I don't know, but I'm again asking you to make it an agenda item. Again, that's all I'm doing.
PCP Dave,
Yes.
may I make a comment?
Please.
2 years ago, when we had our district OH1's in-person training, that was part of the secretary and treasurer's training was both on compliance, and I touched on it with the club presidents.
Mhm.
The problem our district has is I believe we have, I think, 2 clubs that are not in compliance. Those 2 clubs also refuse to go to training. So that I'm just throwing that thought out there as we're thinking. The clubs that honestly need it, the training, do not go. And that's, I know that's the conundrum over so many years. The clubs that truly need the training are just refusing to go to it. So I'm just throwing the thought out there.
No, you're absolutely, you're correct. And incidentally, you have more than 2 now in your
Yeah.
district that are not compliant.
Yeah.
Your question
I'm just talking to you, throwing it out, Barry.
really, how do we turn on to those guys in the clubs that don't want to become involved? That's really what we're doing. How do we contact them? How do we make them? How do we sell them on the idea that this is something they should be doing? And how do we go about that? Is that fair?
No, it's fair. I believe that Council Chairman Kenny even talked about that briefly in his last night with us about he had to ask that in the form of a question, correct, Council Chairman
Well,
Kenny?
you're right. And I'll go a little farther with this bunch tonight. Something that I see, not statewide, but in certain areas, is, and I use the word respect because I don't have another term for it. I see a lack of respect for the leadership in the districts. I see, no matter who the governor is, it just, well, they're the governor, it doesn't matter in certain districts. Steve said last night, if he called a club and he said, hey, you guys need to file something, they were telling him, hey, thank you. We didn't realize we were missing it. I see other districts with clubs and people call them and say, hey, you're not filing. And they're saying, we don't care. To me, it's not just compliance. There's a bigger issue in
Absolutely.
overall leadership. Either for some reason, and I'm not just saying it happened recently. I'm not blaming any one person, but for some reason in some of our districts, from what I see, there has been a disenfranchisement with anything above the club level. Some of our districts have a terrible time getting, zone chairman, and we're all having trouble getting zone chairman, but I see some districts that really, really struggle with this. And, there has to be an underlying current there of something. I can't put my finger on it. I can't, say this is the answer, but I think it's something we need to look at, that, at the leadership level, there's a big disconnect. In my district in OH2, and I know OH2, I don't know all the rest of the districts, but I'm not a big fan of protocol. I'm not a big fan of red jackets, but in OH2, the governor is a respected position. And it seems I have some governors telling me that they can't put out a schedule of their visitation. They have to wait for the clubs to tell them they can come visit. And I said, are you kidding me? And they were saying, no, it wouldn't fly if we told the clubs when we were coming. And, to me, that's just it's just an indicator of a greater issue. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but to me, there's an underlying current there that's really causing us problem in the whole organization.
I believe that what Council Chairman Kenny just said reverberates, and that's, I'm glad you verbalized it in that way, because quite frankly, that's what I was attempting to do. Only I was focusing more on compliance. With compliance, there's an end all. And unfortunately, the end all is that we have federal and state laws that subjugate whether or not somebody does the right, a non-for-profit does the right or wrong thing. That answer is certainly for compliance. With the other state committees or with the other issues, I don't know, but I believe Kenny just verbalized it well. And again, I go back to you, Barry. I'm only introducing it as a discussion item, maybe at our next meeting. I don't know if there is an answer, but it certainly should be looked at.
What if you brought in, I'm going to call him an outsider, someone who is not a member of any committee at this point, such as past District Governors Association. That is a resource that we don't use. They want to work. Nothing is worse for any of you governors, and Kenny, you're going to find this out someday. You're going to wake up on July 1st and you're going to say, oh, I'm not governor anymore. I can't go online and find this or find that. People want to keep busy. My experience has been that if there's an issue that we're trying to reach or to discuss, that if you have a third person sort of stepping in, all of your districts have past District Governors Association. I talked about ours a week or so ago at our past District Governor Association. And I gave them a brochure, not a brochure, a survey. And much to my surprise, out of 30 some people, we got 5 back. So we have 5 people that are willing that if you're called upon, can you help do this? And I think it's a resource that we should be using. So there. But that might be an option. And Dave, I think maybe we should talk about that.
Please.
I mean, it sounds to me like it's more one-on-one than anything. I don't know. I don't know the clubs. I don't know who's in them. But anyhow, well,
I think it's a topic that the zone chairs need to broach when they do their club visitations. If the clubs don't come to training sessions, you've got zone chairs, you've got seconds, firsts, and governors that are all supposed to do club visitations. That is an opportunity for them to talk about these issues and the consequences there of not following through on what's required. The other thing, like Kenny's talking about with redcoats, that's a protocol. And if you don't dress the part, people aren't going to respect you. People aren't going to look up to you. That's me speaking. I think I think we've become way too lax in our dress culture at all the events. Maybe I'm old school. Call, you dress up. I remember when I was a second, that was a real issue at a COG meeting. Is somebody wanting to wear shorts and just a vest. The decision was, and I believe it was Jim Coffey, or it was, come on, the guy down from Mount Orb that passed away.
Floyd Newberry.
Yeah,
Floyd Newberry.
yeah, talked about dress. Everybody should dress appropriately at COG meetings. I think that conventions need to be a formal matter and not somebody just showing up in whatever they want to wear. That's me. Maybe I'm old school.
with the top points that you brought up, Ben, I would not disagree. But where I'm seeing is there's a disconnect between the clubs and the people that are wearing red coats. And red coats are not viewed as a status symbol anymore. Red coats are it's more like the colonists and the British version of red coats. And it's viewed as a bad thing. I do agree with dress. I mean, when I went to a club meeting, I usually did not wear a red jacket unless I knew I was inducting or bringing in a new member. I usually had it in the truck, but I always tried to make sure I was also one of the best dressed people in the room when I was there. And sometimes that's not real difficult. But I think there is a disconnect between leadership, and our members, and it's gotten out of hand. And I'm seeing it's not just having to do with compliance; it's having to do with our organization and growing our organization and stopping the membership loss. I think there's, they don't care. You can talk about membership all you want; they're not going to listen to you. And every district has those clubs that don't come to training. But even some of I see some of the, we have those in OH2, they always have their excuses, but at the same time, if you said something, they listen. And I'm seeing too many clubs that just aren't even listening anymore.
It's a cultural thing. It's not just within Lyons, it's not within Ohio. It's out there everywhere about the people disrespecting others. I mean, you look at the problems that we're having in this society.
Oh, absolutely. But I think there's more to it. There's a top down problem, not just a bottom up problem. I think it's also the communications from the top down that's causing a lot of this. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think there's a disconnect or a miscommunication between leadership in the organization and the membership. I contend that when this organization was founded, it was founded with businessmen. Well, what are businessmen? They tend to be leadership, and attuned to leadership. Even when it moves into the country, it was farmers. Farmers also have a tendency to be involved in leadership. Our organization's a lot of blue collar. Well, leadership and blue collar are almost diametrically opposed to one another half the time, or at least the blue collar aspect has been taught that leadership is not a good thing. And I think it's, hurting our organization because nobody wants, leadership's a bad word and nobody wants to step up and be a leader. And it's a view that our membership has just because that's where they're coming from. They're not coming from those leadership backgrounds anymore. They're coming from anti-leadership, anti-management.
Very much so.
Well,
Very true.
one way around the red coat is you say you left it in the truck. The other avenue is you wear it in and then say, would you mind if I would take this off?
Right.
And get their buy-in and then some more.
Some clubs I wore, I wear it in, take it off. Some clubs, there are a couple of clubs that I wore it the whole time. Some clubs I don't even bother walking in the door with it. I mean, it's all by knowing your clubs and what you're walking into. But
we had one like that I was warned when I go visit, don't wear your red jacket. Well, I wore it in and said, would you mind it? I'm a little warm. Would you mind if I really took this off? You take your coat and your tie off and become one of them. That was Barry that told me that.
And did you
I
listen?
never listened to him.
There you go. Well, look, I want to thank you all for showing up tonight.
Thank you, Barry.
Took a little bit different twist than I thought, and probably more different than you thought. I will, in fact, call LCI tomorrow. I will email you back what I've learned, either anything new or just say it's the way it is or whatever. but I
I
will
would
let you
really,
know.
I would really appreciate that. I'm terribly sorry for being late to your meeting. I had a family obligation this afternoon, and I just have been home about 10 minutes ago. Had no idea it was going to go this long. So I apologize. I'm sure you had marvelous information that Barry will be sharing in his follow-up tomorrow, and I will look forward to that.
Well, I'm sorry that you weren't here. Did you get the certificate for the lobsters? You have to download those, but it needs to be done by 8 o'clock. Oh, nuts, it's past 8 o'clock now. Oh, Ann, I'm so sorry. I wish I would have known. They're just terrific.
And
Yes,
we are recording this session, and hopefully tomorrow I will send it up to past District Governor Jay Dutzman to have him put on the state website under the GLT area.
okay, that's great, because I hate to miss, because these are so important, but I'm sorry, but family comes first, and that's where I was this afternoon.
Understand.
Well, I thank you all very much for coming. Have fun, and we'll get this worked out yet. Take care.
Thanks, Barry.
Good night, Barry.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Good
Barry.
night.
We'll talk.
Night.
Good night, all.